This shit works.
A man that needs no introduction in the world of real estate on the Costa del Sol, Mr. Alfredo Bloy-Dawson. Welcome to the podcast.
It might not work for you. You might be crap on video. You might have nothing to say of interest to anybody. In fact, you might not even know your job very well.
Is SEO still a thing?
Whoa. Got a funny story for you. Want to hear a story?
Yeah, I would love to hear a story.
And then at some point I just went, fuck off with the blazer. Put that cap on, I don't care.
See, that's impressive because every time I open my phone, you're there.
Yeah. Have a lot to say.
Do you know, like, you're there. What is next? Alfredo Bloy-Dawson.
I want to invent.
Welcome back to the latest episode of Manifesto Talks, and I'm joined by a man that needs no introduction in the world of real estate on the Costa del Sol, Mr. Alfredo Bloy-Dawson. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Oliver.
I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a lot to break down, but I want to get started a little bit with introduce yourself for people that don't know you.
Okay, I'm a marketing consultant that deals mostly in the real estate space here in the Costa del Sol, and I am half English, grew up here, a bit like you. But you never thought I could be that short, huh?
I was expecting a...
If you want, we could do all these questions in one minute.
2-second answers.
There's a thing called a TLDR, which is too long didn't read. We should do a TL didn't watch. And we just run through all these questions. I'll give you one word answers to all of them, and then we go into the conversation. And then those people with slow attention deficit can just
I think the plan's gone out the window if you don't really say anything. What I want to know is where the breakdown of Alfredo and Bloy-Dawson comes from.
Alfredo comes from Europe. My mother was Uruguayan.
Okay.
So, and her father was called Alfredo, and her father's father, and it goes up generations. And the Bloy-Dawson comes from the UK, originally, like way back from France, from a place called Blois, B-L-O-I-S. Wow. In fact, one of my ancestors in 1032 was one of the kings of England.
I'm seeing it as well.
Yeah,
I can see
between
it.
Henry I and Henry II, check it out, Stephen de Blois, and he was a terrible king. So
there's a connection to Gibraltar as well. I know.
Yeah, my dad, my father, I mean, I grew up here, so my father had a lot of businesses in Gibraltar, and he is in fact buried in Gibraltar.
Come on, there's a story behind this.
Well, a couple of years ago, I went with my family, my wife and my 2 kids, to Gibraltar, and I said, well, I've not visited my father's grave since he passed away in 1993. Let's see if we can find the grave, you know? So we went into the cemetery that's right below the rock, and there was no list. I thought there'd be a list where you look at the name and it's like 6B, there he is, right?
Yeah.
And it's a long time ago. I thought, I'm sure it was around here. So we're looking at, it's an old army cemetery. Yeah, no person around that could ask anything. So, and it says, oh, it closes at 6. Yeah. So this is like 5:30. I thought, it was over here somewhere. I remember being stood there. So we're looking, can't find it, up and down, can't find it. Okay, just give up. Let's go back to the hotel. And they locked the gate. Yeah. The dude had turned up, locked the gate, and I was left like in a horror movie on a Friday afternoon at 6:30. It was about to get dark because it was winter. And with 2 kids in a cemetery.
He really wanted to go and see the apes.
They really wanted to see the apes. So we escaped the cemetery by chucking the kids over the wall and climbing over. Yeah, precious moment. We never got to find my dad though.
Oh, I love it. I know there's a long journey before you got to the position you are now in terms of real estate. So let's take it back. Where did a young Alfredo Bloy-Dawson's career begin? It
began a long time ago, because you might be surprised that I'm quite old, right? I started accountancy. My dad, back in the day when dads and mothers decided what you studied, so I studied accountancy, which I hated. So it started in the UK at an accountancy firm, 3.5 years. I won't go for the whole series of years because we'll be here all day, but basically you could say that it started up with accountancy. The middle part was mostly related to leisure and management in the UK. Newspaper editor, 3.5 years here. Okay. And then because at that time, online marketing was heading towards content, the MD of a firm called Voodoo, Peter Sode, he thought it's logical for the marketing for real estate. Most of the customers are real estate. It'd be good to have a guy from a newspaper background because all the stuff that we're doing is content. At the time, we're talking 2011, 2012. And did that for 12 years. And then in COVID, like everybody else, made a big change and went solo. And really, the solo part of me was a bit, I thought I was very good
Yeah.
at the agency, which is before the agency would the real estate agency would turn up the customer and would say, we want this, this, and this. And we go off like good little lads and give them those things that they asked for, 3 posts a week on Facebook and whatever. Social media was fairly new for business in those days. So we're kind of making it up a little bit as we're going along, trying to figure out how to use it. But the bit I got good at over the years was saying, okay, just slow down and going back a step and finding why they were asking for what they were asking. And quite often what they thought it would give them, it wouldn't give them. So I then kind of changed the plan a little bit. Oh, maybe don't do that instead. And that then meant that we had customers at the marketing agency for longer because they were good fit services and good fit clients. And so when I went solo, I thought, well, that's the bit I'm good at. Let's be a consultant. Little did I know that everybody says they're a consultant. So when you actually are a consultant, everybody thinks you're not. So I should have changed it to like an advisor or something fancy. But that's what I do is I offer basically that initial advice when people are either starting up an agency or they are looking to change tactic somehow, some big change within the agency. Established agencies are looking to modernize or they want to tap into something they haven't done before. My value prop is kind of my first hour is like the best money you'll ever spend. By the 7th hour, diminishing returns. I'm probably not that good. So I should charge like a load of money for 1 hour and then like 10% cheaper for every hour after.
It must have been a hell of a jump to go from what would be a secure job at an agency, somewhat comfortable. What triggered that decision to go solo?
COVID. I mean, I'm a corporate guy. I've always been corporate. And my background in the UK was all corporate.
There was a little stint in an Italian restaurant in New York,
Yeah.
I believe, though.
Yeah, I mean, I gave you the short version. It was called Hasta la Pasta
Ah, that's great.
in Greenwich Village in Manhattan. And yeah, I was a chef at an Italian restaurant. And then I also worked upstairs at a pizza joint owned by Russians. Sold books in Washington Square Park at the university. So I did a whole bunch of stuff. Helped my friend and his record label that he had of like really heavy duty music. So I did that. I did a few other things other than what I've said, but they were there. Yeah, I came, in fact, ironically, I came back from New York. I was living there because my father passed away in Jerusalem. Just take this full circle. So then I was stuck back in Europe. And I went to England to get some work. And my plan was to go back to New York, and I got stuck in England. And I've been wanting to come back to Spain for a long time before I came back.
I think it's hard to.
I'm a returner.
Yeah, and having grown up here, I think it's very hard to beat it, I'd imagine. And obviously having children yourself, the lifestyle it gives them, I'd imagine, is a huge draw.
Absolutely. I mean, if you've never had it, you don't miss it.
No.
But if you've grown up here and then you got into the big wide world and had your adventures, you pound for pound, the lifestyle's so much better here. And if you're thinking at some point I'm going to have kids, even more so. The way I want my kids to grow up. I want my kids to have the for me, it was normal for Saturday to go to a friend's house and hang out by the pool and have a barbecue. That wasn't once a year on holiday to Magaluf. That was just a regular weekend. And that's what I have for my kids now. And that's what I wanted for myself and my kids. So we talk about quality of life all the time and all that kind of stuff, like almost becomes white noise, but it absolutely true. Absolutely true. Pound for pound, the quality of life here kicks the shit out of anywhere else.
On my way driving here, I was thinking about when was the first time I'd met you, right? And it was, we met at Imboga office, Imboga, and blazer, believe it or not, in a blazer, no cap.
Fuck that.
And I was saying, so there's been a change. There was clearly a moment where you thought, it's either a facade or that doesn't need to be it. So what made you go, actually, I'm just going to be me? You know what I mean?
You do that when you can. So you do it gradually. I did it gradually.
Yeah.
So when I met with you, I think there's a picture somewhere of that.
There's a picture that
I'm wearing a blazer
and will come up on the screen. Yeah.
I'm looking proper uncomfortable in my stupid ass blazer. My dad's blazer probably, but I'm wearing trainers. There's a sign. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm not wearing a shirt.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a sign. And then at some point I just went, fuck off with the blazer. Put that cap on. I don't care. If you establish yourself for being good at what you do, then people have to accept you. Until then, you have to play their game. So do I expect somebody, in fact, this has happened to me a lot. I've gone to meetings where somebody has been, I got a funny story for you. You want to hear a story?
Yeah, I would love to hear a story.
When somebody asks to meet me that doesn't know me, but has been told to meet me because they've been suggested, "Oh, you should speak to this guy," their face is a picture when they see me. They're like, it's like, what's going on? What's this old dude dressed like a skater boy doing? They're kind of like, where's the actual guy coming? They expect him to do it in a suit and all that. So the story is, Sotorande,
That's a good thing.
Sotorande SA, the sales director called me, great guy, and he said, "We'd like you to do a talk for agents, Sotorande, about brand and social and stuff like that. Would you be interested? How much would you charge? Would you be interested?" So like, yeah, man, why not? You know. And then we started communicating through WhatsApp, but we didn't know each other. Agustin, that's his name. And we're talking, and then the brand manager's involved in the emails, backwards and forwards, this is a date, and all this stuff. And they asked me for a picture. And I sent them the smartest picture I had.
Yeah.
And they were like, maybe something a bit more formal. And I thought,
oh,
red flag.
Yeah.
Something's happening here. And I thought, these people don't know me. They've not decided to act because they know me. Someone's told them, hey, you should book this guy. Agents seem to listen to him, or whatever the reason was, right? He's cheap. Can't afford all of them. So I thought, they don't know what I look like, you know? So we did a video call. And in the video call, you can see their faces, him and the brand manager, Rita, also a wonderful person, right? Yeah. And they're looking at me, and I'm looking at them going, "You surprised, aren't you?" And then I broke the news. I kind of went, this is what I look like, right? This is what I do. I ain't wearing a suit. I'm going to wear a cap. If it's a problem, I get it. You got a very nice brand there. I don't want to come and dirty up your lovely brand. But it is what it is, right? So I'm wearing a cap. And then it was the funniest thing. Rita and Agustin was kind of like, well, it's up to her. She's the brand manager. And Rita was thinking of that. And she goes, "Would you wear a Soto Grande cap?" I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Deal. We're on. So I sat there, did my thing, my Soto Grande cap on brand. Everybody was a winner. Hilarious. So yeah, that's the answer.
I think it was interesting because going back to that first meeting, you said to me, we'll take a picture. Why are we taking a picture? Do you know what I mean? And ever since then, it's always been a thing of, look, if you can connect yourself with the right people, you can be seen with the right people, it goes a very, very long way. And I've taken that with me as a key learning point. I always think back, he said, "No, take a picture." And it really kick-started something in my journey or what. But yeah, in my, would you say, social media journey of understanding what it does to connect yourself with the right people, to be seen with the right people. So you're now in a position where, through hard work and dedication, you've positioned yourself as an authority in the space of real estate marketing. At what point was that a decision to go all in on social media and create that sort of content?
Right at the beginning. One of the particularities, is that even a word? Particularities? One of the,
we're going to go with it.
Yeah, let's go with that. One of the odd things or specific things about the agency I worked at was it was very non-noisy, as in people came through recommendations. One of our policies at the agency was we didn't go to you, you came to us. And our office was in Benalmádena. So we had all these people from Marbella and Benavides having to drive all the way to Benalmádena down to come and see us. And that was kind of our filtering of, if you're serious, you know.
If you're going to make the effort.
So we had a lot of big hitters sat there kind of looking a little bit like, what am I doing in this town? And the only time I got a chance to do marketing for ourselves was in August when all the agents were asleep or on holiday. And then we would like make big leaps in terms of we write things we mean to do, look into new ways of doing things, start making a bit of noise. Let's do that newsletter we were talking about that we should do to our agents and stuff like that. And we'd make a lot of big leaps every summer. And then it'd be, everybody come back in September, back to meetings, back to work, no time. So I made it a policy in my plan A of how I wanted to do it. I didn't know whether I would be able to, but I have been able to. And that is that a third of my time is for my marketing. I do about a third of my time, I do it is for me. Yeah. It shouldn't be a guilty thing. When you're in a marketing agency, you feel like doing your own marketing is something that's a bit of a, do I need to do that? You should be doing the paid stuff that people are giving you money for. And if you don't prioritize yourself, you become invisible. You're always putting everybody else in front of the thing. And I was also a big believer in the transition from what was the old school way of marketing, which was gating content and bullshit PDFs that said nothing. They're like, 10 ways to increase your leads. Download this now. Give your email address.
For more
That sort of thing.
information, contact.
Yeah, and that was just, that felt like old, and it is old still. People still do that, but okay. I'm a B2B guy. My customers are other companies. I know who they are and I know where they are. I don't need you to fill in a form, but I think I'm too lazy really to be knocking on doors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make enough noise about what I think, how I think, and what I believe, and give as much value as I can. And for those few people that it resonates, they'll come to me. I have spent €0 on my marketing.
See, that's impressive because every time I open my phone, you're there.
Yeah, I have a lot to say.
Do you know, like, you're there.
Yeah, and look, I don't expect people. There'll be 99% need not apply. I'm a one-man band. I'm not planning on scaling. That gives me a very unique opportunity to do things that you might not be able to do yourself with a manifesto, a big company with lots of people in the office. You gotta be a little bit more careful. I start the month, touch wood, with my bills being paid already. So I can be a little bit mischievous. And I can, and all those years at the marketing agency, there were a lot of things that I kind of, because we're quiet, we didn't make any noise. All those conversations, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conversations, repetition of things that we were having in the intros with the new agencies, the absolute repetition of doing that accumulated in my head, and I was dying to talk about it. So when the cuffs came off, I'm just like, you guys need to know this. I thought, it's the same principle when you're talking to any company about doing content for themselves, and you say, well, start with the obvious, the frequently asked questions you guys have. Yeah. They'll be your North Star of relevance and usefulness of your content before you start going off on skiing holidays and fun things, right? That's the boring but useful. And so I had 8 years worth of FAQs stored in my brain of stuff that I kept on having to have the same conversations over and over, and certain outcomes started repeating. So I'm dying to share that. And the second element was that the kind of consulting I want to do is where I can make a real difference, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't make a real difference if someone with €1 comes and says, I want to have a little go at Google Ads or whatever the thing is, right? That's kind of like, keep walking. I don't want to have that conversation with you. It's my time is the only thing I have, and I want to be helpful. So I think, well, everybody's saying that to me. I'll do a video that says, if you've only got €1, don't bother. Yep. That will filter them out. So it's kind of like a
pre-qualification.
It's a pre-qualification. For me as a one-man band, it's all about fit, a good fit. Can I help you specifically? And if I'm not right for you, then don't give me any money. There's plenty of other people. So really, my marketing is I guess you could say to some degree it's inbound or it's brand. As in, I talk about certain things. I'm not saying today it's Monday. I've decided that everybody should decide about their lead gen and start calling everything, or whatever the thing is, right? Whatever the topic is. I must say I don't offer the service of doing the lead gen. It's just a consultation on it. Because I've decided that everybody should do it that day because it's on my list. I'll say stuff and it'll land somewhere for some people. And then in 6 months' time, the conversation will come up in their office and they'll go, oh, actually. Yeah. And so a lot of the stuff I have, all my stuff's inbound. All my inquiries are inbound. I do zero outreach. You will never see on a post from me ever, hire me, I'm a consultant, here's my number, I could give you a good price, or you won't see any of that. So it's all inbound. And it also allows me, because I'm free, it allows me to test a lot of things for my customers, do it for myself. And then I go, okay, that's how it works. And then see if I can apply it to whether it be a real estate agency directly or somebody in the sphere, law firms, mortgage brokers, whatever.
I think touching on the point that you said of prioritizing actually creating that content, right? Give us a little bit of a nugget of how you would say the most efficient way is to create the amount of content that you're pumping out.
The most efficient way is identify one person within the company that is okay, that doesn't mind being on camera, at least one person, and record them doing what they do. And that can be as simple as having they're doing a Zoom call with a potential buyer from New York, and every time they speak to an American buyer, they have to go through, this is how it works here, these are the mortgage rates, these you can't get a Spanish mortgage, whatever the things are. And I'm just going to put the phone, not you, but me, and I'm going to record myself having the conversation. That's the most natural you'll catch me. And I did a free consultation with a
Oh, I've
startup.
seen this.
Yeah, and I pulled out 11 reels of myself saying those nuggets of information to that person. That 11 reels to create from scratch. So let's create some content. Now that's the boring side of content, right? So you got the three elements for agencies, the people out the environment I work in. You got lifestyle. You got a little bit of product, which is the houses, your listing agency, and then you have the sort of the knowledge based stuff, the
Yeah.
advice. I'm much more on the dry side, as you can tell. But so I utilize everything. I do all my social on my phone, and I don't suggest everybody else should, because I have zero budget, and I'm not trying to attract a lot of people. The B2C marketing isn't the same as the B2B marketing, but you can do a lot of damage with very little. And really the output is because I'm doing the stuff anyway. When the Registradores report comes out and has 180 pages of statistics, I have to read that anyway for one of my retainer clients. Where I make my money isn't in the noise that you see, it's in something else, right? So I'm already reading that report. And as I'm reading it, I'm going, oh, well, no, look at the Dutch. Third position in Spain. They haven't been third I don't think they've ever been third. Oh, no, I wonder why that is. And I start going down a little rabbit hole figuring out. And then I start pulling off little nuggets and I start sharing them. I think, well, I find this interesting. There'll be someone else that finds this interesting. So I'm not going, let's create some content today at any point. It really isn't. If you look at the thing I did the other week with the Ask Me Anything thing, which was having a giggle,
great.
it was fun, right?
Yeah.
I think I got 11 reels out of that. I didn't have to think about what to talk about. You guys decided,
Yeah.
right? And so it was on my phone. I have customers that I deal with that will spend 3 weeks thinking about one reel.
Yeah.
I got home after filming on Friday with Cloud9 at like 4 or 5 p.m. and was on my couch chilling for like, long day. I did everything. I filmed it, subtitles. I'm not saying it's going to win a production award, but that's how you can create content at scale.
That leads me on to probably the core reason behind Video First Marbella. Yourself and the wonderful Mark Beltran behind the camera. Your better half, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely.
But yeah, come on, give us a bit of background on that.
Where to start?
I think it starts probably from, I would imagine, frustration of needing the content, being asked how to produce it, and when you actually sit down, probably yourself and might have a chat and go, actually, there has to be a better way of doing this, a more
100%.
efficient and cost-effective way of doing it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, bear in mind, going back to the agency work, these are the early days of social,
Yeah.
so we didn't really know what was worth doing and what wasn't. But if you have access to an agency's everything, you kind of know what's working and what isn't. If you write a blog post about something, Malaga's new roundabout or something, you can see on analytics that it's had one person look at it and it's probably you, right? So you know it's not working. It's what the most we were managing to achieve was to make it look like it was working. Yeah, so you have a presence. If they check me out, they can see me. That was about the bar. That's how low the bar was back in 2012 to 15. If they check you out because you got the lead from somewhere else, and they go, oh, let's find out about Alfredo Estates. Oh yeah, he does exist. He's got Facebook, he's got a bit of activity. Oh, just listed, sold, all that stuff. So it was not make believe, but it was kind of like a social proof.
Yeah.
But it always felt like this is just proper vanilla. As a marketing agency, the agent wants to not be involved in any of the work. You just create content, man. Make it good, make it interesting, make it about me. But I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not going to send you any pictures. Go.
Yeah.
And here's your budget, right? And so once you've used all the bits you can from their website, those little paragraphs that say, for 15 years we give an A to Z service or whatever rubbish that they've come up with, you're running out of stuff. And far from it from them going, they never asked me, you're saying, can you give us some more stuff? Can you just take a picture whilst you're out on a viewing, or take a picture of your cappuccino by the beach? So, give me something.
Yeah.
And like over scale, over repetition, this really didn't happen hardly ever over the years. So I was very disillusioned with social. So in our marketing team, it was kind of like, if you wanted it, you'd get it. But I wasn't going to I wasn't going to sell you the idea that it's like, wow, this is going to revolutionize your business. And each thing was done in a silo. So you'd get a blog written by someone there, and you'd get someone doing your social somewhere else, and you'd get your pictures from the website, you drag them onto your desktop, drag them back onto the thing, and write just listed dash. Oh, how do they do it? Oh, okay, exclusive listing, sole agent, sole agency. Come on, right? And we were the ones doing that, and we didn't. We thought, well, let's try this. So to see 10 years later, that is still the case. You're thinking, well, we moved on. I moved on from that. So the social was always very, very vanilla, is what I'm trying to say. It was a very ungratifying service to offer because there was you could look, if you take, this is a little experiment for you to try, I want you guys to try, is take your average Marbella real estate agency's Instagram, okay? Cover the top where it says the name and then scroll. I bet you couldn't tell what agency it is. Do that with mine. And see if you can figure out it's me, right? Okay. And I'm not an agency, but what I mean is that was the issue. It still is the issue. Is there's no uniqueness. It's all product. Then with the advent of video, people like Drew Melia started doing their cinematic Hollywood-style movies of properties at a big scale, and that kind of raised the bar from 0 to 100, right?
I think you've got to give it to them. They changed the game.
Totally. But that set the bar so bloody high. It just made it like, oh, you're not in the game.
Movie production.
Unless you got, a Hollywood movie, you ain't in the game. Which meant that nobody could really do that. And I think maybe that was part of their strategy, to make this so over the top that nobody can actually repeat this. But then that was super expensive. In-house equipment, in-house teams, or you hire some external people, and it costs thousands to do one video. And so again, that didn't really solve the issue because most agencies don't have that sort of resource, or you didn't want to do that resource. When video started getting cheaper and better, and what we found was that the fundamental thing of video first is that if you do a video of us talking right now, I could take that transcript. If you do a blog, if you do these activities, if you have a blog, Mr. Blog Writer, take the day off, take that transcript and give it to someone else, maybe the blog writer. They could do 100 of them instead of doing one. Instead of you creating the content, you're curating the content. I don't need the blog writer from Uruguay to think about what to write about Marbella's Golden Mile. It's just going to be a bad AI version, isn't it? As an AI finds everything, he looks for 6 pages because that's how much time he has. So that kind of meant that you had original content going into the blog, which finally solved.
Is a lot more original than what an agency producing 20 people's blogs.
Exactly. So, you take 2 agencies to talk about the same topic and they talk about it, it'll be different because their emphasis will be different. And as a provider, that gives you original content. It's much easier to curate content than to create content in someone's space. Unless they're paying you enough to sit there with them, then you can do it, right? So that was a blog. Then for social, suddenly it was like product. Well, now I can actually get the agent doing something, saying something, looking something. And it could be lifestyle, walking around, looking beautiful in slow-mo and stuff. Or it could be talking about something a bit more dry or whatever the case is. But that then gave us material because in one conversation like this one, we can pull off 10 reels. So you're thinking, wow, that's in one hour. You're the talent. Well, in this case, I guess I'm the talent. I'm the talent. So as the agent, I can walk in, do my thing, if I know what I'm talking about, and then go cover about my business for 1 hour of my time. Then that you can produce so much content. So that everything suddenly made sense. Suddenly, all the content was unique to the company. It was efficient if done correctly, meaning that you would invest in one thing. You weren't investing in a video, you're investing in a whole bunch of things. All your social, all your written content, all the reels, long form. And then the secondary cherry on top, and this is a bit where everybody gets confused, understandably, is that you then put that long form on YouTube. And YouTube you have to think of it as a search engine. Don't think of it as a video search engine. Don't think of it as social media. Everybody brackets it together like social. It doesn't behave like social. So suddenly your information is discoverable on YouTube, and because particularly at early adoption stage, which we maybe were 4 years ago, I was doing a video with somebody about a company that was coming to Marbella to offer co-ownership, Picasso, and the worst quality video on a Zoom recorded thing, my fault, right? And then you'd Google his name the following day, and that video was right at the top of his name. And you're thinking, oh my God, this is like SEO 2.1. As in, I thought, how would that happen otherwise? And I thought, and then just the final bit. I mean, I can go forever, but the final bit, I thought, because I was excited about it because it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the difference.
I agree.
Once you discover something that works, you think that's the way to do it. It's not that you're like, I don't care who films it and who. But the other thing then is also you have like a new agency, if they have the spheres of interest. So then if that person is talking to someone of influence and you're a new agency, suddenly if you do a good job at it, if they start sharing it on their social, suddenly all their circle is being exposed to you for free. And a really good brief example of that is Ugo from now at Sotheby's. When he was at Berkshire Hathaway, he was doing these Instagram live things with various people, very non-technical, just did what he could. And I remember he did an Instagram live thing with Mark Topiel, who was the chairman of Sotorande. As good as quality as you can get on a video call type thing. And the following week, Sotorande put that video on their website, and it was linked to Berkshire Hathaway. I know knew Mark Topiel. You couldn't put 50 grand on the table and say, please put my brand on your website. They'd just be like, keep walking, buddy. We say no to Bentley. We're not going to say yes to you, right? Yet within 3 days of something that cost Ugo zero money, took half an hour of his time, his face and his brand was on the website of the essay, and I thought, wow.
I think if we break that down, the idea is to create, this is valuable content. Video first, my better. This is not your lifestyle production videos. For that, you go to Mark directly and he can provide that for you. This is to create valuable content that can be designed in a way that it can then be used and distributed across all platforms, correct? And I think the beauty of it is, and I think when people misunderstand it, is if you're interviewing, you touched on it, but just to kind of make it simple as black and white, you interview a lawyer, right? You'll then get the clips from it. Those clips then go onto your Instagram. You have them as a collaborator. You are in theory, you would then be the most recent posts on their Instagram. Their audience is then seeing you. It's an incredibly organic way. They also need the content. So I think a lot of the time they go, yeah, but how are we going to get a lawyer? Yeah, but they need content also. All you're doing is inviting them to come and have a chat. Yes, you get their expertise, but they get the content out of it as well.
Everybody wins. That's the key.
Everybody wins. And normally that's not the case. But to be honest, the reason why I back for it as well for you guys, I think it's a genuine solution to a problem.
100%. I couldn't have put it better myself. It really is. It really is. I think whether you use a professional company to do top of the range thing all the time and have an in-house team or whatever, or whether you're doing stuff on your phone, to whatever degree, the good thing with the drier content is that the cinematicness of it can be lower level. I'm suggesting that. Sorry, Mark. But it really can. Yeah. As in, we're talking about the golden visa here. I don't need you tap dancing in the background to make it fun. Yeah. It ain't fun. I think there's a term that I want to throw at you that relates to where I see agents going wrong with this. And that is, the sales funnel.
Yep. Yeah.
This is quite a conceptual thing, so I'll probably need you to re-explain this in a minute. But in a sales funnel, you have lots of people going at the top, just sort of consideration. And then go down the funnel, there's fewer people left, and it gets fewer and fewer and fewer. And boop, pops out a buyer or a seller or whatever, customer. People should think of their video content the same way. So I call it balancing the funnel in your content strategy. If you just do golden visa videos, you're just doing the bottom of the funnel. Someone that's interested to the level of detail about something like that, they're normally quite far down the funnel. Makes them a very good customer, but there's not many of them. Someone that's thinking, let's live in Spain, Marbella's beautiful, look, I want to see pictures of La Concha, just to dream about this move that I'm going to make. That's top of the funnel. That's where they might be a year or 2 years behind before they do something, but they're, and they have middle of the funnel, which is everything in between, a bit more of the lifestyle, a bit more detail, places to eat out, and golf courses and things like that. So if you only do top funnel, which a lot of agencies do, the sexy stuff, then you make your brand known to masses, but you're not necessarily feeding them right to the end. You're handing them off to someone that is doing middle or bottom funnel content. But so balancing the
You're
content.
selling them the location almost. You're
Yeah,
selling
I've
them the
convinced you to
lifestyle.
buy Marbella.
That is
Thanks,
it.
Trubelia.
That is it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, Sean, Willie, you do the sell,
Yeah, you've
please,
proven
because
me the
you know what you're
expertise,
talking about. You
trust.
understand. You understand the
That's it.
wealth
Yeah,
taxes
yeah.
and stuff like that. You're the guy I want to talk to.
Yeah.
So balancing the funnel is doing the right proportion of the three kinds of content, not just doing one or the other. A silly example is a few agencies now that I love that they're doing this, that are doing quite humorous stuff on socials. You know, and that's great, but don't just do that. Otherwise, you're the Pepe the Clown, and you know what I mean. So you got to balance the funnel. You know, you have the inspiration, entertainment, and education. They're the three elements of the content. Now, not everything has to be everything. They have to be one of those. But the main thing is I see agencies that specialize in top of the funnel, especially we just do lifestyle. All our videos, all our content's lifestyle. Look at this, slow-mo. And the irony is that the top of the funnel and middle of the funnel stuff is more fun to do, is more fun to watch. And here's the kicker. Nobody in your circle wants to watch the bottom of the funnel stuff. So you're not getting any validation for that effort. The dude in Miami that's about to drop 3 million in Montemayor, he wants 45 minutes about this piece of tax. Yeah. He's about to do it. And it's exactly the easiest way of thinking about it. It's exactly the same as when you're buying something. If you're going to buy a toaster, you will spend half an hour looking at dualit versus whatever else. Yeah. But no other point in your life would you look at that. Would look at any detail of that. The only time you might look at the toaster video is if it catches fire and burns the person's eyebrows, or if it's funny, or it's inspirational. You know, and so that goes back to balance in the funnel. And I think the pressure is that we want validation and we want to do things that are fun. And you have to do top of the funnel. You have to do middle of the funnel. They're fun. And the extra kicker is that not only the people around us will go, I liked that one. But your own videographer doesn't like doing the bottom of the funnels either. That's why we have Video First Marbella, is because nobody wanted to do it. They're like, this is boring. I don't want to be like some old dude sat there 45 minutes talking about taxes. I can't showcase my skills.
I think it touches on the vanity metrics of it as well, though. The engagement on the Ferrari pulling into the villa is going to be so much higher than, unfortunately, you talking about the newest tax legislation.
Exactly. And that's the funnel representation. More people. Fewer people.
This is the box. But my argument has always been that if you look at, we still have to look at the genuine age demographic of people that buy in, and this serves as what I'd call inspirational content, whereas at some point you need the educational to prove your not only trust but expertise in the industry. I don't think social media gets the credit it deserves. Okay, and this is hard because there's not yet a way that you can track. If I am sat on the sunbed, okay, and let's say you're promoting one of the educational videos you've done, etc. And I'm going through and I look at that, I think, oh, that's really interesting. That's Cloud9, oh look, or Sean Woolley having a chat with somebody, okay? Take note of that, all right? And I get back to the apartment, and I go, Cloud9 Spain. Meta, or Meta's a trigger word for Alfredo, but anyway, social media doesn't get it. It will not say,
attribution.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Now that's really difficult, probably from an agency point of view, because you can give all the stats and statistics you want, but it is very hard to explain to someone that, look, there's a lot to be said for social media, and being able to, it gives you a lot more access. It's a proactive approach, but it's not always trackable.
I think tracking it's a little bit like the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you know enough to think you're a genius, and then you realize, oh no, I know nothing. And when you first start in this sort of thing, somebody says you're not tracking anything. You should track stuff. And about a year later, you go, you know what, he's right. I can see what you're saying. I don't know where my leads is converted sales. I need to track stuff. Then you go over the top to track everything. And if it's not trackable, I don't want to do it. And then you go overboard, and then you go a bit longer, a little bit more experience, and you go, okay, some things track this way, some things track that way. Let me ask you a question. I know this is B2B, but it's the same principle. Why am I here today? I've not spent any marketing. Did I call you and say, no. I've attracted you, right?
100%. I will give you the 100% honest opinion of that. Is there's two sides of it. One, it's a very valuable conversation. Not only does it inform and help set expectations for potential clients for us. And then the second being, this interview will gain us access to your audience that may not have heard of Manifesto. So it's that.
And will give me access to your audience.
Correct.
We both win.
No. And that is exactly it. So, and it's finding those mutual benefits and understanding that.
I don't think, this is my opinion, right? If you have to sell social media to any agent, they shouldn't be doing it.
No.
Keep walking. You know, if I have to sell the idea of when you have a listing, you should take pictures for it. I'm not going to convince you should take pictures of your listing. If you really don't think you should, carry on walking. I want to talk to the people that have a bit of common sense and go, okay, it's a thing, 2025. Let's get past that. Should I do it? Shouldn't I? Here's some straight questions or straight answers to straight questions. Are there agencies that are very successful that have zero social media here in the Costa del Sol? Absolutely yes. Yeah. Keep walking. But you have to have something going for you.
Yeah.
So if your source of business is directly through lead gen or something else, good on you. I mean, yes, we could go down there. Like, how much better would it be? You know, could you look at some of the social media activities and the video activities as a way of increasing your conversion rate from lead to sale when you're giving them stuff that goes, these people know what they're talking about, I like them, rather than a sales email, right? How would you quantify the value of the brand? Because the one thing you ask any agency, the biggest percentage of drop off from lead to sale is by being ghosted. Isn't because people go, hi, yeah, no, I'm not going to buy. Cross. I am going to buy. Tick. Most of the time, it's hello. You even start having a conversation, and then they disappear. The ghosting is a thing, right? Yeah. Because it's up to their circumstances. It's a long game for a lot of buyers, right? So let me put this simple situation. You got a lead through from Billy. You got a lead through for Billy. He's all hot for it. He thinks his grandma's going to pass away. And he's going to get a big windfall, right? He's not hoping she passes away, but you know, money is good. She's like, well, I think I can get something in Costa del Sol. Lead comes in through your website, through your landing page, through socials, whatever. And you speak to him, you're sending him stuff. Hey, check this out, check that out. And he goes cold because his grandma goes, I just had a health check and I'm looking healthy. And he's like, ding, oh, great news, grandma, right? 2 years later, old grandma passes away, bless her. Why would he go back to you? You want him to be going, I got to go back to this agency. They're the ones for me. I identify with them. I feel like I know the market now thanks to them. You know, I'm going to call them. No, what's going to happen in most cases is they're going to re-Google it or whatever the thing is, or re-go on a portal, go, okay, and then start that conversation with a new agent. The Costa del Sol is full of sales that 100 other agents have that lead, and it went cold 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 years ago. And the only answer we had for decades, or at least a decade that I was doing it, was send them a monthly newsletter. Here's some more properties. Hopefully that will do the trick. Or the more aggressive things will be like, let's do a follow-up call. Yeah, but you do a follow-up call for the first week, first 2 weeks, first 3 weeks. Well, what about the guy 2 years later? You call him? It was an inefficient way of nurturing leads is what I'm trying to say. So you could take things like social and video content and stuff like that as a way of nurturing leads. That's not sales.
As a database now.
Yes. Yeah. And if you look at the content you're doing as a conversion rate optimizer, you know, here's information you requested. Hello, where are you? Here's an area guide for the part of the area that you inquired about. Here's a buyer's guide. I see you for the US. We got a special video discussing the residency things. You know, the chances are that if we're a good fit for each other as a buyer and an agent, why would they go anywhere else? Yeah. They already feel they know you. And that's probably the most common thing you'll hear with anybody that does video. And you probably get this now because you're a man about town, right? Yeah. Is you walk into somewhere and you feel a little bit like a star sometimes because there's a random person that you've never seen and you go, yeah, so-and-so. And you're thinking,
do you know what's a really interesting
one? We're connected on LinkedIn, but they're pictures like the size of a pea, so you never actually know what they look at. And you're thinking, what's your name again?
I think a really interesting one is, someone said it to me as well, right? The people that enjoy your content the most are probably people that don't engage with it.
For sure.
So I don't think I've met, all right, I can't say anyone, but a vast majority of the people that I met that may say, oh, do you know what? I really like the social media doing, or the podcast is really good. And I'm thinking, you know, you could drop a like. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
You could just drop a like there just to give me something, you know.
Yeah. We have to remember we're grown-ups. The market we're dealing with is grown-up.
Yeah.
They don't, a 50-year-old dude doesn't feel the need to give you
A
a
red
little
love
heart emoji
well,
because you said something smart. He's gonna watch it and move on. Like you cannot confuse engagement with audience.
Yeah.
And you can see that in the stats. 1,000 views. You know, 1,000 views of a reel and 3 likes isn't a failure. It's 1,000 views, man.
I think let's get started. Look, vanity metrics is huge. We did a video, the first ever, say, podcast format that I ever went on was with you, and it was probably one of the clips that resonated. It was quite well. Was vanity metrics of there's a balance between having enough of a following that it gives a kudos to it or it proves trust, but having 5,000 followers from the Philippines is pointless. Now,
Looks cool.
Looks great, and you might get a buyer, of course. You know, we're very fortunate that the Costa del Sol attracts everyone from all over the world, but we need to be a bit realistic of what is your vanity versus the functionality of social media. And I think that's probably something that I'm going to say battle, I'm going to say have to set the record straight when starting out and say, right, what are the goals for this? Is it you want a massive social media following because that's what's going to give you personal value? Or do we want to give this time and strategically position it so that the right people are seeing it? So I'll give you a little story about a case study of how influencer marketing really worked. Okay, so an agency came to us and said, look, we'd like to access this market. We've got a connection to it, but how can we try and go about this slightly different to access this new market? So we're thinking about it. We're having a little thing, and there's an influencer. I won't give any names away because it worked, and they did a video with them, and it was talking about the connection between them, having a laugh and a joke about where they're from, etc. But you're not looking at an influencer with vanity metrics. It's, let's say if you're thinking about doing this, you meet with the influencer, you get proper data from them, you find out genuinely where their audience is from. And normally that comes from, let them be very big in one space. You don't need a global superstar, but you need someone who's known in a country and has a cult following almost. Okay, so they do the videos, the connections, the collaborative posts. They sold through people that watched the video and contacted and said, well, if it's good enough for him and he's happy to connect with you guys, then I trust. And I think that's huge. But it's going about it the right way. It's not throwing money at it. It's not selling simply a lifestyle. It's about being strategic with it, looking at how can we access the right markets in the right way. And I'm not going to lie to you, that's not free. Do you know what I mean? These people don't just sit on and go, oh yeah, we'll do this all for free. But if you are genuinely looking at how can we try and make an impact and think a little bit outside the box, then there's definitely a conversation worth having, I think.
100%. I totally agree. I mean, I think I put myself in the shoes of the agents, and it's okay. So you guys are saying, forget about the big numbers. Small numbers can be good too. It's a long game, so don't expect a sale or leads generating from this. So how do I have any, like, you give me this much money a month? So I get it. I totally get why people go, I feel exposed here. I feel vulnerable. And that's where you're going to have to trust the process. As in, it's not for everybody. Not everybody has the thing. The only thing is that I think that the one thing that agents should get over with is this shit works. It might not work for you. You might be crap on video. You might have nothing to say of interest to anybody. In fact, you might not even know your job very well. That ain't going to work. But if you do, it's an approach to marketing. Yeah. It's not a magic bullet. It's nothing. It's just get over it. It's not. I've done a video. Yeah. Where's the millions? Like, your video was shite. You should be nowhere near a camera. Yeah. You devalue your brand. So it's basically the framework of marketing that we're talking about. Then the delivery, the success, all those other things. Now it's on you. What I'm saying is, if you have something going for you that your competition don't, and it's not visible, you're
Sing about
doing
it.
yourself a disservice.
Correct.
If you got 15 offices and 1,000 staff, and all you have is a just listed thing on your socials, then Alfredo Properties, who started last week, that just came off the Air Poland flight, can compete with you on an equal basis. It's just like, at least publicly. So you shouldn't make it so easy for them. If you want to compete against it, take what you can do and leverage that. And if there's something other than social media, like you go to events, you go to exhibitions, whatever your jam is, it might be some billboards on the side of the A7. But the question is, certain things are just, you got to get past it. It's a thing. It might not be the right thing for you. But the one thing I would say is, don't make it so easy for your competitors to outshine you with a little bit of ingenuity and a little in being good. And then we start talking about AI and things like that, and it's even more the case. So there's a lot of agencies that I know that maybe, particularly the ones that work in the off-plan thing, that they're not about brand. They're about it's all transactional. How many leads is it going to give me? What's the ROI? It's not worth investing in that. The minute they turn the tap off on their PPC, their brand is zero.
Yeah.
You could have people that are selling hundreds of millions of euros worth of property walk into an LPA conference and nobody know who they are. That's okay. That's okay. Why make it so easy for everybody to compete against you? You know, why is Sean Willie, bless you, cotton socks, going to pick up that buyer that 6 months later Googles, what was it about the golden visa again, and sees his thing? Like, why make it so easy for them? That's the only thing. I think, like, if you're having to say, does social media work for real estate, then don't talk to me, or you. It's just, I'm not here to sell something like
That's
that.
correct.
You know, it's just like, that's not the good fit. The good fit is, we're doing it. Are we doing it right? Could we do it better? Are we doing too much of one thing and not enough? And I go back to the very simple example is, okay, well, take your timeline, put your hand over the top, and does yours look like everybody else's? Okay, so you don't stand out. And you know what? This is a market where anybody can sell anything. So it's no different than 1,000 shoe shops in Puerto Banús having the same pair of Nikes, the same Nike Air Jordan 1s, and that's their social media. And I can buy this from any of you. Why would I just pick the nearest one to me? So you know, that's where the brand comes into it. If your brand has no value and it's all about the transaction, then the minute things get tough, or certain transactional things you're doing stop working as they used to, what are you going to do? That's my point of view.
So we put out to the followers of Manifesto and the Manifesto Talks podcast. If you don't follow it, give it a follow. We asked them what are some of the questions that we should put to you. So let's work through them. Starting off, what is a common mistake you see in real estate marketing?
Whoa.
Let's
Let me get my list out.
I'm
Just pick one.
I'm gonna start off. Okay, I'm gonna start off.
What isn't?
I think not having a clear lead follow-up strategy in terms of how can we all sit down at the end of each month and judge the quality, the return, when the team as a whole potentially treat these leads in their own bespoke way and go about it in different ways. I think there's a lot of variables that then come back of, well, I sent them a WhatsApp, and then you got somebody else who loves the chase and says, well, I work this guy. I've called 6 times, sent WhatsApps, phoned them, going well, and you go, oh, well, hang on. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's very hard. If it's a one-man band or a very small team, the conversations are usually quite informed in terms of, well, we're treating them this way. They come back to you almost with a list of, this was James, he was interested in this, he contacted with this, we got 3 conversations in and it dropped off, but he was happy to be added to the database. I think people need to maybe understand that you don't simply go to a marketing agency and pay the money and sit back. I think this is, and we try and say that, we try and make it very clear of, this is a collaboration. Like, we want to work together, and we know that the feedback's not always going to be great, like flying. but we need the constructive feedback to then be able to work from our side. So there's my little start to it. What's on that list?
Well, one of them is what you just said. So thanks for that. But I think not even, I think I'm going to zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
The biggest, most common mistake, particularly for new agencies, is underestimating how hard it is. Because you can only replicate what you see. And what you see is a bunch of very beautiful people walking in slow-mo by a pool, I don't know, so Villa Open House with their phone out. That's quite easy to replicate. But that's not where the business is coming from.
Yeah.
It might be a contributing factor. So there's always most common thing I have is such an underestimation of how hard it is to actually get the business. Now, if you're coming into the market with a network of your own because you're from family office or whatever, it's a different story. But try scaling that. Good luck, buddy. But so not even the lead generation in terms of follow-ups. It's just like, how am I even going to get the business from it? I think
is that an expectation thing or a lack of knowledge?
It's just lack of knowledge. I think you can only replicate what you see, and the business building stuff comes from things that if they're doing it right, you're probably not seeing it because you're probably not the target market. Like if they're doing their targeting right, you shouldn't be seeing their ads or you shouldn't be seing what they're doing. You won't know what CRM they're using. You won't know how good the follow-up is. You won't know what portals there are. You might be able to go with some portals to see, but you don't know if it's working for them. So there's a gross underestimation of how hard it is. And normally that comes most often from agents that have left an agency. Right, so they were there. They did all the work, man. They got the sale, they did the follow-up, they did the viewings, then they got to keep 20%, and the company got 80. What the hell is all that about, right? And I get that, but I've only been on the receiving end of this for years. So they come and go, okay, I want what that easy bit they did. Were giving me the lead. Could I have that, please? And they're like, oh, okay. There's a lot involved, yeah. And so I'm not really. That's one. The second thing, and this is more on the brand side of thing, is marketing to their friends, not to their audience. Okay? We want validation for what we do. I did 10 reels as a result of...
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, this is a perfect example. It happened just the other day, and I was like, this is something I'm going to remember. I was at home, and my wife was looking at Instagram. She's not a buyer. Yeah, she's not a customer. She's not a buyer. She's not interested in real estate. She's not interested in lead gen or anything like that. I did 10 reels. One was talking about how many caps I had, I think. Somebody asked me how many caps do I have.
That was my personal favorite, actually.
Yeah, me too. Right? Because you're not a buyer either, and I'm not a buyer either, right? Okay. The other stuff, I already know that stuff. I don't know. Right? There's another 9 reels talking about what would you spend on your budget, what would be PPC, all these fairly heavy topics. And I said, which one was your favorite to my wife? And she went, the one about the caps. And that's what agents have in their own business. They get into high fives for the fun stuff. That's the biggest issue because you're not getting validation from people around you. The validation comes from buyers.
Which one performed the best?
Yeah. Well, I wish they were around. It was funny. But that's funny. We overthink things as well. Do you want this to have a lot of people in it? Get me to fall over, and then let's get into a fight. You punch me and we start scrapping. That'll go viral.
Yeah.
You're going to do a property video, get somebody, male or female, with 0 clothes on, and then, for good measure, step on a cat, fall into a pool. That will do great too. Because it's entertaining the masses. The numbers will be good. We go, yay. I've had at least 2 or 3 occasions, specifically, over the last 10 years, where someone said to me something along the lines of, I have 150,000 followers. How can I make it work for real estate? Or I have 150,000 subscribers. How do we make money from this? It's because it's all that. It's like you're sexy, you're hot, you're doing cool shit. Is there value to it? Yes, but so it's the top of the funnel thing. Is that validation? It takes a very steady pulse to do stuff, to do a 1-hour video by video I mean content generally, about a toaster. And you have to go, I'm selling toasters here. I know you'll like the one where I get electrocuted, but it's toasters.
I think it's hard. I think everyone falls foul.
Of course, I understand that. I like that. It's dopamine, isn't it?
Yeah.
As in, when somebody suddenly get 8,000 views on something that normally gets 300, it's kind of fun. I want more of that. And then you look at the comment, it's like, this is bullshit. I don't agree with you. You think, okay, so the only way I'm going to get some more traction is if everybody hates me, right? If I see something controversial, and I don't really want that. Now, here's an interesting point to do with vanity metrics that relates to knowing your audience. Yeah. If your audience are people like you, then it's easy, right? Just do what I be myself. They'll identify, go, oh, he talks like me, looks like me, sounds like me. But a lot of agencies in Marbella don't look like their customers. So you have to ask yourself, is it good for business for you to do a shot of your €100,000 watch? Is that what your buyers want? If so, then great, carry on. Do I need to see you practicing at the gym, punching a bag? Am I a gym rat or am I an investment banker from Switzerland? Right? I'm not saying one is good or bad, but it better be the audience. There better be an audience for that, first of all, and then you're in the right thing. It's much easier to be an estate agent that's 55 and plays golf, for example, right? Because they're probably nearer the majority of the agencies, the sort of the buyers.
Yeah.
What you've had in the Costa del Sol over the last 7 years, 6 years, is the noisy agencies, and it's not a bad thing. I like all agencies, but the noisier, the more visible ones, they're catering to a younger buyer demographic that also wants to imagine themselves with their Ferrari pulling up with their young wife that sort of walks, mujer florero, I think one agent calls them, like flower pot ladies, and they got, just look pretty. So there's that it has got younger, true, but this is what's happening. You have 80 to 90% of new agencies coming into the market going for that small slice. Who's marketing to the majority, which are the overweight golfing couples from Oklahoma or from Tunbridge Wells? No one's marketing to them, because it's not fun and it's not sexy. But be careful that whatever you're targeting should match who you're trying to do it to, because it could actually be working against it. And in that case, I would say don't do any marketing, right? If I'm 25 and there's only 10 people that are 25 that are going to buy anything over $1 million next year, to throw a figure out, I'm making it up, and there's 100 agencies doing that, the math starts getting a little bit frightening.
Yeah.
And you have to say, like, would your dad buy from me? You might, but how many of you are there? And I think as an agency, you're going to have the cold blood to go, okay, what is my demographic? I'm the Dutch market. Okay, how many Dutch people are buying? And that's why you need to know a little bit about market and numbers and how many other agents are doing it. A clear example is the Swedish market, right? Mm-hmm. You throw a rock out the window, Andalusia, and you're going to hit a Swedish agent. Now, there's a lot of Swedish people buying, but how many are actually buying? Is it oversubscribed? Are they all Rolex wearing tattooed people, or some of them fat and old that want to, sit and have at the Marbella Club instead of, So that was the longest answer ever.
No, it leads nicely into what would be your piece of advice to someone planning to launch a real estate agency on the Costa del Sol?
Lead gen first. Yeah, that would be that'll be it. That'll be my advice. Think of where you're going to get your leads, whether it be as a listing agency or as a off plan or a combination thereof. Have a 1-year plan where you obsess over getting the revenue in, and don't overthink a lot of the brand stuff initially. But within as soon as you start getting your sales in, now start putting some of your resources towards brand. Start building the brand. Don't do it afterwards, and don't put all your money on brand and nothing on where's the business going to come from. So I think you kind of have to do a layered strategy, which is business first, as in where am I getting the money for the business in? Because there's a time delay, so you got to start as soon as possible. What do I need? What are the minimum assets I need to get that going? A website or whatever you might need, business cards, brand, looking at. And then put a lot of your resources into getting some revenue in. And then just as things are starting to go through the machinery of lead generation in whichever format, start working on establishing yourself a brand. And decide very early on, are you going to scale or are you going to stay small? Because that will change how you do your marketing. If I'm going to stay small, let's not talk third person about ourselves. Let's not instead of calling it, Costa Property Deluxe, let's call it Alfredo Bloy-Dawson Properties, because it's just me, right? So I think, and so we decide early on, is my plan to have a huge office with a lot of people or many offices, or am I looking to stay small and boutique? Then do your marketing accordingly in terms of the brand building.
Do you think people try to cover too much?
For sure.
I think one of ours would be, if you've got the capability or the knowledge, that's fine. But it's a big old area, Malaga to Sotogrande, and it feels a little bit like it's I'm just going to throw my net and try and catch everything, rather than probably having a strong education on an area, building confidence and trust and results, and then expanding rather than trying to prove your knowledge of, I mean, the whole length of the coast.
And you know, if you pick
Correct.
Los Arqueros,
Yeah.
you're competing against one dude.
Yeah.
Everybody else sells Los Arqueros, but there's one dude there that is the mayor of all Los Arqueros,
Yeah.
right? If you pick Montemayor, you're competing against one dude,
Yeah.
etc. Right? If you do Sotorande to Malaga, you're competing with 4,000 dudes, and you're new, and you haven't got the resources, and you haven't got the mailing list, and you haven't got the contacts, and you haven't got anything. It's going to be tricky. So I would agree with you. I would say niche down as much as you can on an area that you can own.
Yeah.
And pick an area where there's already a king of the castle. You'd be silly to go to Montemayor and say, hey, Sean, move over. Just pick another one. Go to El Capitan or something like that. Or maybe it has to be a little bit broader, but, you know, Benahavis specialist. You know, there's plenty of companies that you can, particularly if you have low resources and low manpower, you know, just really own an area. And you can then become the go-to person for that area. And all your marketing can talk about that area, which other agencies from Fuengirola can't talk about that area the same way. So yeah, 100%.
I think before we go off on a tangent on some of the other questions, there's a good one here of should agents have their own personal profiles with content? So should an agent that works at an agency have their own personal, or in some cases you see they're obviously just, it's a private profile and there's no real connection to who that person is?
Yes.
Why?
Because if they end up leaving the agency, they don't exist.
Well, that would be my opinion on it, is that from the point of view of you're building your own brand, you do get a little bit back to the stage of when you leave, you're going to have that feeling of, okay, I know this is me to do on my own. But at the same point, I think if you're an agency and there's 10 agents across the main social media, what chance is there to stand out? Whereas I think if you can build your own brand alongside that and create your own content, then you can become the person to go to within that agency.
For sure. It's tricky for the agency, not for the agent. So to answer your question, if I'm talking to an agent, yes.
Yeah. If you're
Talking to an agency,
watch out.
You have to find a very delicate balance of making sure they don't harm your brand. You can't be a Sotheby's and then have one of the Sotheby's team getting drunk in Puerto Buenos doing selfies. It's not no bueno if they're doing it on a Alfredo _ Sotheby's type handle that's to do with the brand. Okay, so I think a good example that might be Home Run, for example, right? Because they got some of the characters from the Netflix show. They've got, they have their own social media presences, and one's into dieted and other ones into something else. Some goes out all the time in parties, and if you're looking at that as a brand, if you're trying to become more mature or more that, and you got all these people on the sides coming across like that don't align with that, can you really tell them you're not allowed to do that? They'll be like, it's my social. Yeah. So that's a whole debate in itself. There's a whole debate. I think, simply put, yes, if it's done correctly and there's some ground rules that we all agree on, then I absolutely think so. And I think agencies, within the right rules and the right framework, I think what agencies should do is they should reward those who succeed at it.
Support,
You know, so give them a little bit of it. I know a lot of agents that pay for their own stuff because the main agency doesn't really believe in it. And that's a little bit unfair, I think. As long as it's their own name, if they move to another agent, they're building their own brand equity, so that when they go, yeah, I know you can come work for us any day. So yeah.
Slight switch up, and it's a big one. What is the boldest marketing move that you've seen from an agency on the Costa del Sol?
Define bold. As opposed to...
Made an impact. And I'm not, that can be negative, positive, but got people talking.
I would say there's not a lot, particularly recently. That is part of the issue, is not too much boldness going on. There's too much same. I'd say there's probably certain points in history. I'll give you a short but concise answer. I would say bold step number 1, Drumelia with the house property tours back in the day. Changed things up. I would then say, for example, Sovilla's way they marketed to agents.
Yeah.
Groundbreaking, disruptive, great formula, still use it today. I would say going on Netflix. Love them, hate it. like reality, don't reality. That's doing something different, and that's bold. If you want something a little bit more recent, I think you should check out the video that Mojo Estates have published a couple of weeks ago called Marbella, the myth, the legend, the mojo, or something like that about Marbella. I'm not sure what that is, but it definitely gets your attention. Check it out. It is eye opener.
I think there's an interesting one that was in recent time that actually you touched on in a LinkedIn post, was one of the, let's say, the strategies of the agency, no? To
The
put it
agency.
politely, yeah,
Oh,
the agency.
yeah.
To put it politely, target competitors, brands, with a very strapping tagline of why choose us over them, realistically. Why choose said agency?
Choose us instead, kind
Choose
of
us instead.
thing. I guess that was bold.
Yeah, most definitely bold. My question would be, well, what was your take on it? I think it was the post blew up in terms of your own post on it, and I think it was a pile on in terms of that's unacceptable. People can't be doing that.
I think, I could say that. Yeah, sorry, go on.
But I think that leads into the slight problem with that you've said of not much has been bold, okay? Because would you say the more established agencies can come piling on, and that's hard to if you've got to be very strong to be able to deal with that scenario, or know that if I'm going to do this, this is potential what could happen, and the Costa del Sol in general is a very small place.
Yeah, I think just to clarify on that one, what they were doing, they were using the names of other agencies as keywords so that their ad would appear, and in the ads, to one degree or another, they were directly saying we're kind of better than they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one thing. What has always been the case is agencies, even some of the people that were bitching about it, do that all the time. But the etiquette, the agreed etiquette, and these you got to give the agency the at least the excuse that they were new, so they didn't know there's no written book about what the etiquette is. The etiquette is if you target someone else's name as a keyword, you don't mention them in your ad. You just say, "Here I am. How about me?" Right? You don't go, "They're a bag of dicks. Use me instead." That's a little no-no, right? So I would say that in their defense, they didn't know. The bit that I found funny, I don't know if funny is the word, is that one of the things the agency has, they have their rules. They're like their commandments.
Yeah.
And one of them is no to assholes. Like, and that was an asshole-y thing to do. So I thought that was ironic, like, why are you being an asshole? It's a bit asshole-y thing to do. So a lot of bips here, I'm sure, but so that was, I thought, funny, and I thought they really knew why come in making that kind of noise. There's another agency, for example, that not in the same way, but the same idea was Strand.
Yeah, they changed the game.
They came in instead of 70-30 in favor of the agency, 30-70 in favor of the agent, and that caused a bit of uproar, and a lot of people went to them and whatever.
And I think they said in hindsight,
yeah,
there was maybe a miss or a lack of acknowledgement of the collaborative situation that is.
Yeah, Serena, one of the co-founders, she said in retrospect, she would have been a little bit more diplomatic on the way in. She didn't realize it was a collaborative market, so they just did what they thought was right, which all kudos to them. But a lot of people said they wouldn't last, and
Still going.
5-6 years later, they've got offices everywhere, and they're expanding further. So regardless you really agree with it or disagree with it, I guess that was bold. You're right.
3 more. Getting a bit more, probably not techie, but a bit more nuanced, probably. Would you choose resales online or Immobalia? If you were, let's say, to put it into context, if you were starting out now, right? And there's a lot of nuance to it, but I'll let you get into that.
Either. Honestly, either. I would choose Immobalia because I'm buddies with Sergio.
Well,
right?
I had that written down.
Right.
He's going to choose Immobalia.
yeah. But then again, the guys from Research Line are good guys too. So what we're lucky here at the Costa, both are very good. Now, if you were to name some others, I would say stay away with a stick, right? but they're both good. They're slightly different in terms of the ones are bigger. So if you want to have access to more stuff,
New developments, especially.
yeah, then the other one. I think in Mobilia, if I was looking to not use, if I was looking to use the CRM element for my business, and not have a separate CRM, and I was going to use an email marketing thing and not be using Mailchimp or something else, I would probably choose Immobalia. I would choose Immobalia. I would say if I had the money, I would have both.
Okay.
A lot of agencies do that. They'll favor one. So one agency I could think of uses Resale Online but has an account in Immobalia, and a lot of other ones use Immobalia and have. I think Immobalia traditionally has a reputation as being slightly better on the QC and the quality control element. Traditionally they have a little bit more restrictions in sharing stuff and whatnot. There's a perception, I don't know if it's accurate or not anymore, of there being a bit more less noisy and less wild westy on Immobalia because it's smaller. I don't know if that's fair or not. I can't comment because I've been involved with Resales Online for 3-4 years at least, and I see set here quite often. So, but yeah.
And I think.
But we're lucky. Either one are good. That's important to know.
Is SEO still a thing in real estate marketing?
Sure is. Yeah, SEO was the first service at the marketing agency that I worked at we ditched because it's just a fool's errand. Is it important that people find you, they're looking for you? Absolutely. But it's so complex. I think it is. I think I could count on half a hand how many people I even think about talking to about SEO. I think it's changing, and I think for me SEO has evolved. Not just like in the algorithm what it picks. My view on it as a marketing guy, it's FMA, not SEO. Find me anywhere. I don't need to funnel everybody into my bloody website. Find me on YouTube, find me on LinkedIn, find me on Instagram.
It's like getting your content ranking.
People can get. This is not 1995. People can get in touch with you wherever they're at. They can send you a message. So I think this idea of having to funnel everything into your website, force them into a form to fill in the thing when they're there and they can just DM you. You know, I think that's the mindset. Are they finding you on YouTube? Great. Are they finding you on Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever? So I think the SEO, in terms of what it's trying to achieve, has a much broader value to me nowadays. I think that, yes, of course, SEO has got great value for the agencies that have been investing a lot of money for a lot of years. As a new agency coming in, particularly Marbella, my biggest thing to them would be, what are the chances that you're going to get an ROI? I think you have ongoing SEO services and consultancy. That's one thing. And that's tricky. And definitely don't go with one of those ones you get by email with little red boxes around your website going, I've seen great content, but we could do better from India, right? So you have ongoing SEO services, and then you have SEO optimization, which is making sure your website is fully visible, is optimized for what you do, so that people could find you. And I think that's essential for anybody. I think everybody should have technical SEO done on their websites. Ongoing SEO services, it just depends on a lot of things. And I think the final thing I'll say about that is that it's about to transition in a major way with AI. People are switching from search engine to query to conversational. We're seeing it even in Google. Google itself is now giving you the answers. You're not clicking through to a website. So maybe the fundamentals will stay the same. You have to remember there are still people today that will use post-it notes instead of a CRM, and they're operating and they're selling. There are still people today that use Excel sheets that they update, and then everybody has to message them the details, and they update their little Excel sheet instead of Google Docs or something online or a CRM. So the business will continue at all the different levels, old, new, really new, hottest, new thing. So the SEO will continue to be a thing. How big a thing is maybe an opportunity for a lot of the newer agencies to go, okay, well, how could I leverage what it's going to be?
Yeah.
And I think AI plays a big part in that.
I think 2-3 years ago, it was a tough conversation. I think the established agencies, I don't want to say had it sewn up, but they were compounding on top of the content they already had. I think the emergence of ChatGPT, etc., I think it's given people a chance, and I strongly believe that if the established agencies don't adapt and they sit on their laurels and think that just doing it the same way is going to keep them safe. We are working very hard to ensure that people that want to undergo using SEO and see it as a viable option, they use what is becoming the new way of searching to take advantage of that situation. And I think you touched on it. SEO is not. I think eventually you'll have a new term, right? Everyone loves the moment, the flow, and the
geo,
something like that, exactly. Some prompt-based SEO is the lovely buzzword at the moment, but there has to be a new word because SEO is obviously search engine optimization, but that's going to have to change because the fundamentals are ranking your content. A bit like you said, it's about being
FMA,
seen.
find me anywhere.
That is it. And now, as you touched on before, it's your video may rank, but now
it's easier, in fact. But
yeah, we've seen that recently. Obviously, for the first time, Instagram is going to be able to be dragged in and be able to rank. So things are always changing. I think once upon a time, and that would probably be 2-3 years ago, you probably had a strong opinion of don't waste your money.
Honestly, yeah, you would have asked me this question 6, 7 years ago, I would have said,
don't bother.
Don't keep walking. Speak to someone else.
Well,
we don't offer that service. Don't want to even talk about it. In fact, we'd have customers of ours that we worked well with go, I know that you don't do the service anymore, but what do you think? And I just keep walking. I don't want to talk about it. It just gives me a migraine. Just keep going. There are a couple of companies here on the coast that know their stuff about this. They know it way better than I could ever do in this side of things. But there are very few that really can. The issue that a lot of agencies have with SEO is a little throwaway thing at the end is that they have a company in Sweden or in London or wherever that's very good, but they vastly underestimate the level of competition here. So they're like, I know, apartment for sale in Marbella, and then they find out a year and a half later that they got zero chance and maybe nobody's even looking for that. So I agree. If you'd have asked me 6 years ago, I'd have said, like, I don't know, is it good, is it bad? I mean, a lot of agencies, that's how portals get their business, is through SEO. So who am I to say no? But I did have a conversation with a fairly senior person in a company 2 weeks ago that I hold a lot of regard for, who said this expression to me, SEO was broken. It's going to get put back together, maybe the same. I suspect, as a final thing on that, I suspect that the fundamentals of good SEO will remain the same. If you're putting something that solves a question, that actually answers a question that somebody has, and it isn't everywhere else already, and it's visible to wherever they're looking, then they'll find you. If you're not offering anything new and you're just repeating what everybody else has said, it shouldn't do well. And that was always my argument. Why should your new agency, you don't know anything about real estate, you just had a feed from resales online, why would Google give you the first position? I know the answer, because back in the day, 2011, we could just keyword stuff, like crap out of a website, get a website, the domain was like Marbella Property Deluxe, and you were there, you were raking it in. They knocked that on the head a long time ago. Those days are gone, so
the text in white.
And the footers that are like this long, I mean, I did all that. You have to remember that I'm talking about this not as a current expert in SEO, because I am not, but as somebody that got off the boat a while back because a lot of the stuff that was working stopped working. So yeah.
Second from last one. I know Mark's checking the clock.
The cameras are smoking.
How is AI affecting the industry?
At the moment, everybody gets to write really good emails and newsletters and things. At the moment, it's affecting it in the sense that it is a great leveler for agencies with low resources and maybe not native English, but the marketing is in English. It's really leveling the playing field. It's making them more efficient. It's also, you have a situation where life is imitating art, where people are trying to speak ChatGPT. Those non-native ones, you're starting to hear people say navigating the whatever and evolving landscapes and the epitome of whatever.
In heart of.
In the heart of.
Favorite.
So that's right now. The way it's heading, we don't exactly know. We just know that you got to keep your eye on it, because if you keep your eye on it, you'll be able to jump when whatever the thing is, whether it be video creation or chat AI agents or chat AI chats, when it's mature and ready for use case, you need to be keeping an eye out to jump on it. Because what I will say is that if you don't, there's going to be somebody doing it and kicking your ass, and you're going to have a team of 20 people still trying to write my weekly newsletter, stuff like that. So I think you just have to stay on it. As in, some of the stuff I'm seeing now is so close to being applicable to our market.
Yeah.
And I think you need to pay attention to people like us, because we're probably going to tell everybody about it.
Focus groups is not quite the exact term, but we've sat around the table with someone, not Ash, who's looking to try and disrupt and bring AI agents into the market. And I would probably say, on initial thoughts, I thought, whoa, okay, this could be a thing. You've seen one in Portugal that's passed over doing a billion in sales. Sorry. My argument is you can fall foul to trying to replace tasks that are only 5 minutes anyway, and that can really damage a brand. So from a ChatGPT point of view, in terms of creating content, okay, if it's blatantly obvious, it looks like a bit of a half-assed attempt. So you couldn't be bothered, right? So you've got AI to do it. We've had, in recent times, some huge brands that have said, we'll do the content, right? They're thinking, all right, fair enough. Maybe they've got an in-house content team to written content. You send it over and you go, oh my, this is just
M dashes everywhere.
Yes, yeah. And you're
that's another debate, though, isn't it? Is that it is a debate. If it communicates what you're trying to communicate in good grammar, easy to read, is it actually a bad thing? I don't think so.
No.
If it's a big if,
I think it can really damage a brand if you're just trying to save 5 minutes or a quick buck. And I think you have to just be careful of that. I think a really interesting use case, and we spoke about it in this group, was using it to nurture a database. So what you're most likely not going to get is people that let's say people have 10 to 50,000 contacts. They've been on the coast for 10, 15 years. They've got a database. The likelihood is nobody's going to go through that. Okay, they're just going to sit there dormant. Now, one of the really interesting ways was, how can it be used to contact them through WhatsApp? Okay, with, let's say, hey John, we know that you were looking this time last year.
You're still looking to buy.
Yeah. And feed them more, let's say, content based. Well, look, we recently did a video on golf, and I know that 18 months ago you were looking for a frontline golf property. Rather than trying to sell them some window cards, here's a bit of content. It might be interesting for you. There's been an update on frontline golf living, or there's a new development that's launched in front of El Chaparral or something like that. I think there's a use case for that. I genuinely do. And what the difficulty is at the moment, I would say we went through it. So we took on an AI agent in terms of handling our inquiries through the website, in terms of a chat bot. We went from the logic base to a more automated one where it found its own information, it made decisions, and it helped guide the selling process. And I sat with somebody, a young tech guy in Jib actually, and he said, how much time genuinely, Oliver, is this saving you? Yet this is representing your brand, okay? And one of the instances was in one of the test runs, the idea was it would qualify the leads for us, to put it simply. Now, there's so much nuance in that, because what it did was, when we ran the trial, we said, hey, I'm a startup. I need everything, okay? Now, it's going to take a long time for you to nurture this bot, to teach it all the different ways of answering it. To that, it pre-qualified it as, oh, you're not an established business. And it sent them the most insane message of, you're currently not in a position to work with us. When you are,
give us a shout.
Give us a shout. So to me, that leads golden. They need everything from the branding through to the website, through to their social media and the marketing going forward. So we have to be careful. I think people need to understand that, what does it truly replace and how does it affect their brand?
Totally agree. I think I could, one final point on that is, what we need to start thinking about is, will it change how real estate is done? It's a bigger question. If people are not Googling, if a few are, half the people that are now Googling are not Googling next year. So they're not going to a website. So it's not my website. I can't get the lead. I've been paying all this SEO service and I'm getting half the leads and I can't survive on that. Or the portal that I'm paying isn't getting the leads because a few people looking for it in Google. Then where do I get my business from as an agency? So I don't know the answer to that, may I say, but that it could fundamentally change some big ways of real estate. My sense is that the safety net for an agency, a real estate agency, is in the listing. I was going to sound really obvious. Is if I have the mandate for a property, I don't give a rat's ass where the buyer comes from, whether it comes from the agent or not. The agent is going out of business because he's got no leads, or via the portal, or the portal is going out of business because there's no leads, or directly through the chats and it's put them through to me, or whether there's an intermediary. It becomes not my problem. And if the lack of searching means that the agency, the real estate market here generally contracts in terms of agents, not in terms of demand, I don't think that'll be affected, then those with the listings are probably in the safest position, logically, I would say. So if I wanted to hedge the risk as a medium term strategy, not long anymore, I would say, okay, well, we don't have a listings strategy to get listings. We should start thinking about that, because it could be that in 2 years' time, we've got a quarter of the leads coming in that we have right now through no fault of our own, potentially.
We're going to finish on my final question to you. What is next for Alfredo Bloy-Dawson?
I want to invent a way of consulting where you'll give me loads of money.
Yeah.
And in 1 hour, I can give you a lot more than that worth of money in advice. Yeah. No, seriously, that sounds stupid, but I think that there is a need for agencies, for someone that they trust. This is why I have to build my trust levels, to say, this is what you need to work on, and then just leave the room. And that they'll trust me enough to know that that is the fundamental issue they have in their company that they're trying to solve, rather than all the symptoms. Oh, we don't have enough leads, we don't have enough that, my team keeps on leaving, we're trying to get direct sales. There's normally one big thing you could change that will fix a lot of things. And so I want to fine tune the ability to see that and kind of, with all the noise, and just go, fix that.
Does AI worry you in terms of it's replacing a lot of knowledge? Like it's giving people access to more knowledge, or an easier way to consume that knowledge?
No, it should worry. No, the opposite. It excites me. It should worry the people with the ebook that are getting their business by saying, download this 5 ways to make more money on real estate or whatever. They should be worried. I'm giving away my information anyway. You know, what I wanted, I find this incredibly exciting. If it's a time where there's a fundamental shift in the whole world. I'm at a good age for it because I've got the experience and I'm grown up enough, but I'm also interested in it. Does that mean that I'll be doing the same thing I do now in 5 years' time? Will I be able to? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But if I can condense it to something that is time efficient for people that are cash rich and time deficient, and walk in and go, do this, and I have enough brand equity that they'll listen to me, I think that could be fun and useful.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think we could sit and talk for hours. I think if any of the off-air stuff was captured, then we'll all be in trouble. But yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. And I not only a big thank you to probably when I joined the industry, you welcomed me with open arms, and have definitely pointed me in the right way a few times. And I think the content you do is incredibly valuable, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Same to you, man. It's exciting to see you becoming a player in this space. Yeah. Watch that space, I would say.
Thank you so much. Cheers.